Hey, so the Meta Andromeda update seemed to be a really big deal. I sort of put all my notes into one document. Sorry, it's not more neat or presentable, but at least it saves you hopefully some time on looking through everything to try and get on top of it. And let me know if you want a link to the Google Doc, by the way. But I'll just go through everything. I've looked at like multiple different sources here, and then I'm going to sort of share with you what I learned from each one, and then share the conclusions at the end. So anyway, the first thing is, obviously, let's take a look at their main announcement post, which is from the official Meta Engineering blog. I asked AI to summarize what they said in sort of plain English. The first thing it says is the retrieval stage of how they pull out the ads to put them in the ad auction now can handle way more ads at the same time. I guess it's because they're preparing for like a flood of new ads coming in through AI, so that's really interesting. But I guess what it also means is it's going to be more competitive because it's going to compare you against so many other ads at the same time. So the next thing is this hierarchical indexing over flat candidate scan. So what does that actually mean? Meta prunes irrelevant creatives early. You can't rely on all your ads getting through. Focus on relevance and diversity. Again, this kind of makes sense if they're going to load up on like millions and billions of creatives at a time. So I guess it's +1 to the idea that the ads have to be really different and new and not variations of the same idea. So we can't have like what we used to have where we had one creative that had like 3 different headlines. It's got to be 3 different ads. Model elasticity, more compute for high value segments. So it says, maintain your best performing ad sets in creative so the system knows which segments are high value to allocate more power. Honestly, I don't understand what that means. More personalization in retrieval, not just ranking. So what it means is your ads are judged more granularly earlier. Generic creatives are less competitive. So I think what that's talking about is what we'll see in some of the comments below, where it's like Tinder for ads. It's no longer find the best ad that works. It's going to be find which ad works for that particular person, that particular segment. So that means that we can have more ads of greater complexity of like targeting all the different people and less trying to find that one killer ad, if that makes sense. Sublinear inference cost allows much larger model capacity. Okay, what does that mean? The system can evaluate more features and interactions. Your creative metadata, targeting signals, etc. may matter more. Okay, that kind of makes sense. Reduction in rule-based heuristics, more end-to-end learning. This is interesting because it says it wants to reduce complexity, minimizing the components and rule-based logic. So what I think this is talking about is in the past, like way back when you would do media buying in the old days, we used to even split it up by like age groups and gender, so you would just turn off all the segments that don't work. And what this is talking about is in the new world, post-Andromeda, we're basically going to not have as many rules and restrictions on the ad sets and try to leave it as fluid as possible. Better handling of creative explosion via generative AI. I think this just makes sense based on what they said before. Improve recall and ad quality as measurement improvements. So it says your ads have a higher chance to surface if they're relevant. So again, it seems like they're optimizing more for diversity and relevance. So we need to aim for ads that speak to individuals rather than ads that speak to groups. Fewer component boundaries, streamlined pipeline. What it means, feedback loops are tighter, changes to creative or targeting can propagate faster through the system, test more frequently. I don't know what that means in practice, whether we can like edit the ad sets more often or the campaigns more often, but interesting. Future move towards auto-regressive loss and greater ad diversity. So that's kind of like a summary of everything. It says what you should not do. Do not overcomplicate on one best creative. Maintain diversity to adapt. So it's pretty clear what they're saying here. I had a look around. I also found this non-English, I've just translated it, non-English thing from LATAM News. It's interesting that Facebook doesn't release the news universally in just one language. They release different bits and pieces in different languages. Anyway, so this one says, to help more companies maximize performance with AI, we're testing a new simplified Advantage Plus configuration so advertisers can no longer choose between manual campaigns, so I mean ad set budgets, and Advantage Plus shopping campaigns in the setup. So basically trying to get rid of the manual bidding control, which is really interesting. Another thing I found was the official Meta documentation about overlapping audiences. So this is getting into the ad set part of it. Again, I'm just sort of giving you all the data and then I'm going to pull it together in conclusions at the end. They have written here, when ad sets from the same advertiser are going to end up in the same auction, we enter the one with the best performance history and prevent the others from competing to get shown. We do this so that your ads are not competing against each other, which can drive up costs and lead to inefficient use of your budget. It's interesting that the key word here that they say is ad sets, not ads. So far, it seems like we need a lot of diversity. They want CBO, they don't want ABO, and they want you to use kind of one ad set if you're going to basically target the same thing. So we're not even splitting up ads into like groups or themes in the ad set. It seems like we might even just have one. So that's just what the documentation says so far. Let's check out some other stuff. So I had a look around on YouTube. I like Nick Therio, I think is his last name. He has a pretty cool long form video about this. But what came up was this pretty cool diagram that explained how to visualize to do the ads now. So he's saying like, if you look at the group of the target audience, there's probably segments in them which respond to different types of creatives. So this is a good way to create that creative diversity in your ads, which is kind of smart. And he also talked about whether you should consolidate ad sets into one ad set or have multiple. So in his practice that he goes through his video, he actually breaks up the ad sets, I guess, according to like theme or round that he's done the ads. But he says, in his opinion, he's tested both and it doesn't matter. He used specifically an example where one person suggested having one ad set and tons of ads in it, like, 30, 40, 50 plus. And he said it doesn't matter based on his experience. The next one is from Justin Lalonde. It's kind of small, you can't see it in the video, but I've got the link to it here. But basically in his screenshot, he's talking about the same thing. We need to have creative diversity by concepts and angles, formats, persona targeting, and motivation focus. So what's interesting is he's gone even further than what Nick Therio has put here, where he's talking about persona targeting. So that would be even different to menopausal women in this case. Oops. That would be different to menopausal women, whereas Nick Therio was talking about the types of formats there, and motivation focus. So everyone's kind of aware that you can test motivation focus, but what's also interesting here is if we're taking the idea that we're not doing separate ad sets, just as an example, then you would throw that all in the same ad set, which kind of makes it weird, thinking like, well, how do you really test to find the winner? I guess the point is that there is no one winner anymore. There's going to be multiple winners for all different types of people. So we're going to have to look at that in the future. Scale expectations. He's saying no longer 3 to 5 ads, think 15 plus distinctive creatives in rotation. So that came up with Nick Therio and his ad as well, in his video, where he was talking about you want to have loads of ads in there and just switch off the ones that I think he said basically no spend or are getting spend and they're basically not converting at the target rate. Like if you have like a target cost per conversion over time. Okay, next one. This one was really interesting. So Ben Heath posted a video about it. He found a better way to advertise on Facebook, and he also talked about a consolidated ad campaign, so CBO and one ad set with 6 ads in it at once. And his idea was to consolidate all ads for the whole stage of the buying funnel. So unaware to problem aware to solution aware, etc., all in the same ad set. So it's even one further dimension on all of this stuff where it's not just about format, persona, angle, creative, whatever. It's also about buying stage, which is really interesting. I originally dunked on this poor guy, as some of you guys know, but I actually think that's a really interesting approach now based on everything I'm looking at. Okay, now let's look at Reddit. On Reddit, there are a couple of really good key posts on this, but this one I found was the best. It says, I was wrong about 322. Meta's Andromeda update changed everything. So basically they were highlighting the point of view that it's no longer king of the hill, meaning no longer finding the best ad that kills all the rest. It's about finding multiple ads that fit certain people. So I think this is the person that used the Tinder for ads analogy, which I think makes a lot of sense in light of everything we're talking about. And he's also put here, how many ads should you run? I'm seeing the sweet spot is around 8 to 15 truly different ad concepts per campaign. So that's pretty interesting. This other conversation here about ABO versus CBO had some interesting people tune into it, but you can also get a feel for like how everyone's feeling about it based on what they're replying. So this is ABO versus CBO in context. This is like 2 days ago in context of Andromeda. And one guy, this dude called Timu Cat, says he spent 1.4 million in September. So I guess he's an agency. And he said, just dump everything into one ad set, one CBO, one ad set. And he put 50 ads first. He said, no reason to split them up. The algo learns best at the ad set level, which kind of makes sense based on what we were talking about before, that if you have multiple ad sets, it says that it's going to put both of them into the ad auction, but the one that actually has traction is going to be preferred over the one that doesn't have traction. So that means in order to get a proper auction going on your ads, they shouldn't be in separate ad sets. So that kind of lines up what he's talking about here and what Ben Heath's talking about here. But it doesn't line up with what Nick Theriot was saying necessarily, because he was saying it doesn't really matter. But I thought that was super interesting as well. 50 is a lot. He's obviously spending millions here, so that makes a lot of sense in that context. So cool. Last place, I promise. Facebook groups. So Facebook has like its own group for agencies that you can join if you're an advertiser, and you can talk directly to Meta without talking to Meta support. And they posted this on 23rd of September. So this is definitely post Andromeda. It's not old news or anything like that. And it's talking about which one should you use. CBO, they call it ACB versus ABO. I guess they want everyone to change the terms that they use these days, but whatever. And they're saying use CBO when you have flexibility in the budget, but you want the most efficient CPA. Okay, everybody knows that already. And it says choose ABO specifically when you want to target a certain geographic area, segment, or distinct promotions. But that pretty much seem to be the only cases. So they're pushing really hard for everyone to use CBO here. Okay, finally, conclusions, creatives. Pretty clear, we need loads of different formats and different messaging, and we have to think Tinder for ads. So that's multiple different ads, trying to find the best ad for each individual. Formats, messaging, segment, and lots of them. So it seems like 8+ as an example. Structure is probably CBO based on what we've seen. Targeting still broad, like there was no discussion about, hey, you should break it up by age group or whatever, anything like that. The discussion around ABO versus CBO for properly testing ad sets. I should have renamed this, but I'm not going to. ABO and CBO for creative testing, I should have called it. If we use one ad set, or should we use one ad set? Why? It seems like they put in the official documentation, they're trying to get rid of rule-based logic, so they don't like that. 2, the official documentation says they will compete against each other and they'll just prefer the one that has more history on it, so that kind of makes sense. So yeah, but that means if you have a ton of ads in one ad set, is it then bad to edit that ad set in order to add new ads? So you're like constantly trying to improve your ad performance. There's no clear discussion around that, but what I'm thinking is that might actually not be a bad thing. So previously we wouldn't edit an ad set because we don't want it to restart the learning. But if you're adding, say, like 10 ads at a time, twice a month or once a month to your ad set, to your single ad set, you kind of do want it to relearn, because you might end up with a situation where it doesn't spend any money on the new ads because it's not relearning again, if that makes sense. So the relearning trigger could actually be a good thing, or it could be just stupid and you're just destroying the performance of your ad set by editing. I don't know, but we'll have to find out. But then if we're using multiple ad sets, how do we use them? Do we group them by theme, format? I'm guessing it's like a quality of life thing where you split them out, maybe, and you'd split them out by format. I think that was something that Nick Theriot was doing over here in this video. Check it out. But I think he was like grouping them up where he split video from static images, all that kind of stuff. Number of ads to put into each ad set. It seems pretty clear that the trend is towards tons of ads, not like 2, 3, 4 ads, like way more ads in order to get that creative diversity. Anyway, I hope that summary was helpful. If you want a copy to this document or a link to this document, just let me know.